Hey everybody, good to see you guys again. So today we have a special guest and we have someone who is an expert about storage units, or we'll actually ask quite a bit of questions today. But Masha Klapanova is someone that I have been referred to 4 different times. Online, you're really well known for self-storage. And I know a tiny bit about it, but really in multifamily, what I do is it's only related to storage lockers and kind of smaller units and things that are built into storage of the parking lot and things like that. So when it comes to educating individuals who maybe don't know very much about storage, what would you start off kind of education-wise if I wanted to learn about how storage works, how people can get involved in investing, and really at the end of the day, how does it create passive and or active cash flow?
Definitely. So don't forget, self-storage is a business. It's a real estate asset class, but it's also a business. So that's why you have to look at all the aspects of business involved. Second of all, self-storage, it's all about microeconomics, not about macroeconomics. So you look at a really small radius, about 3 to 5 miles, to understand if there's a demand or not. So every time you look in a 5 miles away, it's a new market. You have to redo your analysis because you look into how many self-storage facilities you have around those radius. And so that's the main distinction compared to all other real estate where you look in the more global, obviously. And of course, due to cash flow, in regards to cash flow, self-storage has been considered one of the best of returns wise. So we have very commonly that you can multiply your money. That's what many do because there's a lot of distressed self-storages. And why there's a lot of distressed self-storages? Because many of them are run by a mom and pop, somebody who is retired, who don't really know the marketing. They don't have even their business on Google. So it's comparatively easy to add value to them.
Now that's interesting because compared to what I consider value add in multifamily, is it similar or is it different? For us, a lot of the value add, there's 2 different ways. There's the actual physical structure of the property where, it's dilapidated, or we have deferred maintenance on the exterior, or like you mentioned, marketing, curb appeal might be down. And then the other side where it's the operational side of things where there's a lot of value to be added, kind of what you mentioned. Is it the same thing in self-storage?
Not really. Physical improvements, not very common. You can paint. What you can do is put the gate, put the security cameras. You can paint, you can improve, obviously, but it's not what's the main value add. The main value add is in management and marketing. Because like I said, most of them, when you call self-storage, you want to make sure you get to it. You're not going to wait until they call you back.
Right.
You will call next one. But that's why just putting a call center for 24/7 changes already such a big game changer. And then another example with, like I said, marketing. When you go look for self-storage, what you do? You just go on your phone and look online. And many of them not even online. And they don't work out their website to be able to book online. So those are cheap value adds that you can do. And one of the best value adds is also, obviously, if you have a little bit of additional land, you can just build extra self-storages. And it's not that it's obviously costly, but not really. It's just concrete and steel, if you think in that manner. So you can double your self-storages and double the value of the asset class itself.
Now, I've got a question on that because I have a property that we have as a group kind of in mind. We do have an extra lot that's vacant. It would build another section of these, I don't know how you call them, but another section of apartments, basically. But the cost to build is so crazy. We have thought about self-storage, but a portion of that field is an aeration field. So it's meant for plain dumping or aeration or something like that. I'm not a land person, but there is a portion of it that we could do kind of whatever with it. So I was thinking if it didn't, degrade the area, to do some kind of storage where it's like a boat storage, or where it's RV storage, or something where it's a really simple, just basically a tall carport for those things. Would you recommend putting in a storage like that versus doing the enclosed type of storage, or something that has air conditioning? And or can you build on something that's not necessarily like it's an aeration field? It's not meant for housing with people. What would be the best value add there?
It's all about supply demand. You have to really look. If there is a demand, you can build whatever you want, but if there's no demand, you cannot do anything. You will be staying half full. And obviously beforehand, you have to look at the zoning. If there's you can actually allow to build. So that's your number one step. Second, you do the supply demand study. And what you do is you actually look in depending if you're more urban area, you look at about 1-2 mile radius. If you're looking in a suburban, it's about 3, 4, 5. If it's a rural, it can go to 10. So you calculate how many self-storages of square feet you have. And then you look at the population of that radius. And you can get that number and see, does it worth it or not? So, and like you said, if you don't want to just build the self-storage itself, you can just do RV or boat storage, or you can do even truck storage. I don't know if it's touristic area, you can do bus storage. So there's obviously, again, you look in the supply demand. If it's Florida, there's possibility for boat and RV. And again, you can always, this is also a great value add, what we were talking about. Adding, if you have a self-storage, you can add those parking lots. You can add even a notarius office. You can get the billboard. You can get a propane station. It's a business. So you can even put a little store there to sell things. Ah. So it's as much as you creative can get, you can look around what there's not around and I can put so I can make money. And the billboard, you can just make $1,000, nothing. For just putting the billboard, it costs you nothing.
Really? That is super cool. Wow.
It's fun. I love really doing the analysis of understanding. It's again, you go a little bit further away, you have to do your new analysis and understand what's going on, what people really need there. Do they really need self-storage or not?
Now you've got me thinking. We've got another apartment that's in Denton, Texas, and there is a gas station right behind it, but it has also, not related to the gas station, like a little store. And so when you Google grocery, it actually pops up, which is interesting because there's grocery, within a mile of it, of that complex. But wouldn't it be nice to just literally go in the parking lot and go, get some basic stuff that you need? So I thought that was a little weird, but I mean, it makes sense. If someone doesn't want to drive to the store, they just need a little something. So that's interesting. It makes me kind of curious about that field, because we haven't decided yet to subdivide it. We haven't decided. All we're doing right this very second is refinancing that property because there's extra value that's left in there. So we, as of beginning of year 2, we were doing that now, and then we have that property. So I was like, well, I don't know anything about self-storage, but maybe,
it can be, totally.
Now, how does it work when it comes to the cash flow part of things? So for us, whenever we're looking at someone's numbers on a deal, for us, an expense ratio that's normal is about 50%. When they're operating really, really low, then that usually means there's going to be a lot of deferred maintenance that we're going to find. But again, there's people living in there. There's a lot of turnover, unit maintenance, turnover costs, things like that. It's a little bit different. I know that. And I've been told that it's nice to not have the people have the higher level of expenses, if you will. So when you're looking at a deal, when do you get excited when you're looking at their numbers? Like we're going, okay, there's a lot of room for improvement here, or like this is really bad, or what do you see and when you get excited? So
first of all, self-storage, the average ratio is about 33%. So your expenses are much lower, obviously. And a bunch of those moms and pops, they don't spend on marketing. So you can just increase that expense, but you will increase revenue so much. And what obviously with the expenses, again, you don't even need a manager unless you go more than about 30,000 plus square feet of self-storage. you just have everything automated. We live in a technological era, and you can just go to your phone, rent a unit, go to the gate. They're either going to give you an access code, or you can just they have right now even scanners. You just scan it, it opens up for you. You get to your locker, it opens up for you. That's it. There's no human required for that. You just usually have like a boots on the ground for those small facilities that you just call if there's something happens.
Yeah.
And then again, you have a call center that the call center is they're dealing with self-storages. So they know, and there's the question that they answer. So it works out just perfectly. So you reduce that cost. You don't have to pay someone salary all the time, unless you go obviously again 35,000 square feet of self-storage.
Yeah.
So that's the beauty. And it's not only you don't pay them, you don't deal with them. You don't deal with tenants. How one successful self-storage investor said, if there is annoying self-storage tenant, you can just increase his price double and he can move out.
Yeah.
You cannot do this with either residential or either multifamily.
Yeah.
It's illegal. You can just like increase price. You have only monthly leases with them. So every month you can increase a little bit your cost, your price for the self-storage. So that's how you value add as well.
Wow.
And if the tenant doesn't pay, you depends on the state, 30 to 60 days, you lock him out. He can't get to his storage. You get late fees. Then you do the auction fees, and you do the auction, and that's it. There's you just literally kick them out.
So I guess that's something else I was going to ask about. So I've talked to one person about self-storage a little bit, and they threw this out there as far as the size of the unit. So I think what he said was, I don't remember the exact size, but if you can get units. So when I'm looking at an apartment complex, I like seeing a lot of 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, things like that, because those people usually have families. They stay for a long time. They have a lot of stuff, so they don't want to move. They become kind of like hoarders. So you can keep increasing their rent and they'll just stay forever. Now, when it comes to self-storage, what someone said was if you have an enclosed unit that it might be big enough to put a car in, then sometimes you'll have that happen where maybe they get kicked out, they have to leave or whatnot, but their stuff is now yours. And so you can sometimes get some collectible cars or things like that people might, especially up north, I heard they want to keep them, enclosed. They might put them up there. So have you ever had to deal with that or have any cool stories like that?
Honestly, they have the storage wars. So it doesn't really happen. It's all a reality show. Usually it's junk that you're just trying to pay or whatever they didn't pay. And not even. Honestly, it's usually not something you cannot really sell. And I personally really love they have the charity storage, which they basically do marketing for you. But they give out whatever was in that storage, they give out and donate to charity of your, whichever charity you select, especially in community. And you can also they do events for you in the storage, because storage usually have some space and where they gain. So I personally love it, the concept. I really, really want to try them because it's beautiful. And again, at first I was thinking, you can find something cool there, like something expensive. It doesn't really happen. It's all just reality show, what they show in the storage wars.
Yeah, it's like someone that I dated someone years ago, and you just had like tons of pharmaceutical pens. I'm like, really? Stuff like that. You're like, really? What are you going to do with these? You can't even sell them. Yeah.
People usually store something they don't really need. That's the thing. And 1 in 10 of Americans, they store their things. And it's usually when they get inherited from someone, or they maybe even get divorced, or they just that garage garbage, they just want to put it in, they still don't want to give it. So you don't really want to go through that stuff usually.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Have you ever had anyone live in your storage unit and had to get them out?
Sorry?
Have you ever had anyone live in a storage unit and you guys had to remove them?
No, not really. Like physically. No, first of all, don't forget, you lock them out. They can't even get to your property.
Yeah.
So they're locked up in a gate. So it's not only they can't access their unit, they can't get into the property. I know someone had the story that somebody tried to break in and climbed but yeah, they had like such story like that. But yeah, you just don't give them access, and that's it.
Okay, cool. I've known of somebody who was living in one for a while in Oregon, so I was like, is that even a thing? Like, can you do that? I guess not for long. So
have you ever had storage yourself?
No, I had, like I said, we've just had the small storage lockers where they're like those little chain looking things, and you have like a small little unit if you have an apartment and they're all in a room, or they're like in the garage near your parking, where you just are kind of parking close to where it is, and you just have a lock and you get in there when you need your stuff. But yeah, not like an actual big unit, or AC units either. These are usually not temperature controlled. On that regard, do you prefer one over the other? Like, have you ever done, you see those big self-storage stores, or almost like a U-Haul type thing where it's got hallways that are all AC'd and things like that. Have you ever done something kind of more like that, or how do you do it?
Just regular units that's what we are also going after.
Yeah. Because
those EC units, the price range is obviously you already talking about bigger price range, and it depends again on the market. We're looking more in the smaller markets.
Yeah.
We're not going for big populated areas. So those are usually required. And who requires those? It's usually pharmaceutical, like you said.
Okay.
Maybe paint collectors. If it's usually some expensive like furniture made from leather or clothing, cosmetics, if someone sells like cosmetics. So there is not a big demand. It's usually the demand for that is in more urban areas where we don't really go after.
Okay.
And again, you look at this demand supply study. You look at what's needed and what's not needed. How you also do that? You call your competitors and you pretend like you will be renting a unit, and you get the feel of how many units do they really have. If they're giving you big discounts, that's not a good sign. It means that they're having a lot of empty units, they're trying to rent them out, so they're struggling. And especially if several competitors say like that, this is like big no-no. You want to stay away from their market. But if they say, oh, we just have one left, or we don't have any left, and you go to websites and you say not available, that's where you want to have your storage for sure.
Right, because there's going to be more demand. Is there a certain type of feasibility study that you do? For example, going under contract, like we have, a due diligence period that's a lot longer than residential. How does that work for you guys?
Definitely, there is several companies that do it, and it's something you want to be if you want to be very careful, you want to do that. And there's two types of. They can just do they can do physical. They can actually they're gonna go and visit the competitors. You can go inside and look at the locks. So usually they have different type of locks. One lock is the one that's if it's available, and lock that's not available. So you can even go and count. So you can go do it yourself. It depends. Again, if you're in a bigger market, it requires a lot of work. If you're in a smaller market, there's not exactly need, because you're not building. For building, you need. Yeah. We're looking for more already existing, more type of distressed facilities. So, and some lenders, again, they would love to see it, but again, I also do my own business plan. The whole deep, in-depth business plan. I'm doing my own basically physical study. That's just the best. Sorry, it's the feasibility study. I apologize. Feasibility study.
Yeah.
If it's a smaller facility, it's not really exactly needed. For bigger facility, yes.
So let's talk about that. Whenever you go to a lender, so I'm doing that right now for a deal that we have under contract, and what I'm doing is looking at non-recourse loans from Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and then also I will go ahead and check out a recourse regular bank loan as well, just because with things happening where they're bringing the moratoriums back in where we can't evict people again. And I've been fortunate that we had some risky deals, but they were under bank debt, so we were able to evict the entire time when we had that lockdown and that eviction moratorium. I was like, well, that doesn't affect something not backed by the government. So whenever we go for the non-recourse loans, they're a lot more strict as far as how occupied is it, how long has it been occupied, what kind of cash flow, is it above like 1.25 debt service coverage ratio? How does that work in your realm?
So we have a unique loan that we can get, which is called SBA, Small Business Administration. And this is what also another thing that excites me about self-storage, because you can put 10 or 15% down only. And it's basically that a regular bank and SBA administration gives you partial loans. And they usually require about 1.25 debt service ratio, but the more the better. So obviously, and in regards to occupancy, it's very interesting. I just recently was calling several lenders. One of them, they require 70% occupancy. One of them required 51. All others said it depends. It really depends on. So even now, they're very open. There's honestly lenders are very open to give you a loan for self-storage because it's done so well on all the recessions. On all recessions, it's done the best. So they feel more comfortable giving you money for that because something happened to that. The default rate is the least.
Yes.
So they're not scared, obviously. But again, I spoke with the main lender, who's Terry Campbell from Live Oak Bank, which is how to say they specialize in self-storage. And he said, I've never been that busy. I just talked to him maybe 2 weeks ago. So they're flowing. They're flowing for sure. The deals, we got to grab them.
Okay, interesting. Now, as far as, grabbing a deal, for example, like you mentioned, right now it's probably increasing because people see the value in, it being recession resilient. Is it super competitive? Like for me as a person, as an individual going in kind of by myself on deals, I was able to buy 2 last year. And then just now after a year of literally putting in, multiple offers every week, but then, in beating out like 6 to 15 other buyers, I get down to one person and they will buy something that's, $5-6 million or so in just literally cash they can close in 3 days. And I can't compete with that. I have to syndicate those larger deals like that. Is it highly competitive right now? And if so, what have you been able to do to compete?
So the problem with self-storage, and this is like the worst thing about self-storage, that a lot of markets been overbuilt. In the past 10 years, they built the same, it's something around that, built the same amount of self-storages as it was all years before. In 10 years, can you imagine?
Wow.
So because everybody saw their value, how much money they can make, so they started stupidly building. And that's why in many markets they are standing half full because they didn't do their due diligence.
Yeah.
They didn't do their due diligence. So that's why I've been keep repeating the same thing. Supply demand study. That's where you have to look so carefully, very, very carefully. And the deals where it's competitive, it's you gotta have several ways how you approach it. Because a lot of the people now want to get them. But you can also try to get the off-market deals yourself. You can call those mom and pops, which is not really common to do in multifamily.
Yeah.
In self-storage, it's common. And I have a plan of getting a virtual assistant to be able to help me out with several strategies that I came up with.
Yeah.
And we're going to try to hit with the virtual assistant. Another way is, of course, it's brokers, but those deals usually, obviously, it's harder to find. It's harder to find, but there is still there's opportunities. There's not that many available, so you have to be very careful. But a lot of them are hidden. They're not exactly registered in a county, so you can find a self-storage that's not even known about it somewhere in the forest. Like not the forest, but very hidden, very distressed. People find it and then they improve them and beautiful. So that's another ways. And there's also some wholesalers that send me listings.
Yeah.
Because they're doing this off-market strategies. They're calling, they're sending mailers, and they're sending some good deals. But with them, you usually have to close cash or private money, which is sometimes doesn't make sense a lot.
Right. Have you ever? So it's always SBA is typically how you do it?
That's what people normally do.
Yeah.
And private lending.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them, again, very distressed. So lenders don't really want to give you money.
Yeah.
So private lending works out for those, for smaller facilities. It's very common, very commonly done. Very commonly.
Does anybody in the self-storage realm ever do a syndication to put a deal together?
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. Definitely. There's a maybe several $1 million deals. It's just not something that I'm focused on, but I've attended obviously several, and I've considered investing in them possibly as well.
Yeah.
Their returns, the last one I looked, the returns were 2. The multiply was the 2 times 2. So both of them, the last one that I've attended. So there is one of them was completely RV storage.
Yeah.
A whole completely RV storage. So that you're not only strictly close to just having a self-storage, but RV storages as well. There's opportunities, definitely.
Yeah. Because so from the perspective of either owning it, say with a couple partners, or being a part of a syndication, how does somebody who invests passively in a syndication or somebody who invests actively as a partner, how does that person make cash flow? Is it just kind of off of the difference between, the expenses, like what it cash flows every month? So net income and partners get paid. If I'm a passive partner, am I looking at like a certain preferred return? How does all that work? Yeah.
So with syndication is usually they get in the one that I was considering, it was a smaller facility. To tell you exactly, you were getting, what was it, 8% every year of your investment. It was a small investment. It was $15,000 and $30,000, and there was 7% cash flow yearly, and then you double your money after 5 years. Yes, that's how I tell you exactly what's an example of smaller facility, which was $850,000.
Okay.
The facility. So the bigger ones, I don't personally remember exactly. There's also funds. There's 2 funds by big investors that they're doing. One of them hold the money for 7 years, another one for 10 years. And the reason why, because of the situation with the COVID, they say we'll try to return to you within 5 years. However, we want to be secured and make sure. So those are. And JVs, it's really, obviously, we all know it depends how you set up the partnership. Obviously, just you can keep it giving cash flow and then big chunk of money at the end, or you can just spread it out. It depends on how distressed property is. Because again, if you're looking at highly distressed property, you might not be making money. Right. If you have, some properties have 30% occupancy because the owner is out of state. So 30% occupancy. And can you imagine he's still making some money. So very little money he's receiving, which doesn't make sense. But they cannot even default. If he had a loan, that he would have defaulted. But the beauty about self-storage, you can kind of drop it and it's still going to keep running. But obviously, if you work properly, you can make good money. So JVs is pretty common in self-storage. And it's a wonderful way to everybody to invest and get their chunk of money.
Now, what would you say overall in self-storage? What are the pros and what are the cons that you've seen investing in that asset class?
So obviously the con is overbuilt. There is which I consider more con, some people say pro, there is about 50 to 60,000 self-storages in US. What does it think? What does number give you? Probably not so many, right, of them. But if you look, it's more than Starbucks, McDonald's, and Subway. It's the same amount as Starbucks and McDonald's and Subway combined. So if you remember how many you see McDonald's, Starbucks, Subway, all together they're about 60,000. So self-storage is about 60,000. So it's actually a lot of them. And don't forget, self-storage is not just like little building. It's you're massive. Some of them are massive, hundreds of thousands square feet. So for me, it's a more a con because there's really limited supply. I would say it's time now where in 10 years, there will be no real opportunity. So that's definitely more competitive with less options. There's less education on it. So there is everything like you have to dig deeper for sure. So that's definitely, but the cons, obviously, like I said, there is really, I'm listening all the time what people have to do multifamily, and I'm coming from residential background. So much hectic, so much stress. You have to deal with people's problems. You don't deal with people's problems. You don't deal. So that's why I love this asset class. I think it's the time is now, not later, to do that, because we have very limited time for them. Because again, people would not need more self-storages. However, we still accumulate more stuff. So the demand for self-storage in general, the graph been increasing because we love to buy stuff. We love Amazon. And don't forget what happened with retail, with all those small businesses. They either obviously maybe bankrupt, or they decided to do smart and they start selling online. So they have to put their stuff somewhere to sell. And where are they going to go? They're either going to go to garage or they're going to go to self-storage. So we have a new trend of small business owners putting their stuff in our asset class.
Now, in the types of properties that you go after, so my dad used to have a storage unit that I actually study in all the time. I was studying for a dental admissions test years ago, but it had like a storage backside and then it had a little mini office front side. Do you ever deal with anything that has stuff like that?
So again, with COVID right now, people prefer not to even have an office.
Yeah.
Again, if you have a smaller facility, there's no need. It's just a necessary use of space. And the person sitting there just every hour, you're just stealing money from your business in a way, because honestly, they're not doing much work. If you want to put them on the phone, they will be actually doing worse job than somebody professional in a way. Obviously, you can educate them. But again, they're not going to answer their phone after they leave the office after 5 p.m. They're not going to answer their phone on the weekend. Where the call center, somebody, maybe they're even in the Philippines, they will answer no matter what. And again, but the office, what's good, you can have that additional income of selling boxes, locks, tape, right? You can sell something, I don't know, whatever else you want to sell, you losing this opportunity.
Ah, I see.
But one of them, I forgot to mention about the main add value, you can always do a truck. You can have a moving truck. And usually you do U-Haul. Because U-Haul, they not only going to give you opportunity for people to use your truck, they're going to actually promote your business, your self-storage. So if you go, you looking and you see U-Haul, they might be not U-Haul, this the facility of a bunch of trucks. It's maybe just 1 or 2 trucks over there. And they don't require having a person sitting there and giving you the keys. It's all automated. Have you ever rented a U-Haul truck?
Not like that. The last time I did, it was definitely I had to go see a person and go like pick it up. So it's been a while.
Yeah. So I mean, there you can actually go and drop off and pick up in the lockbox. They give you again a code. You go get that's it. And usually, what they also offer the incentive to give you a truck to move in for free.
Oh.
So you move in. But then when you move out, you have to pay for it.
That's
and
pretty
the
cool.
thing is, if you increase the price, of your self-storage, let's say you pay $50, you increase it $5, 55. Who's going to move out to $5 to rent a truck, who have that hectic day of moving, finding another self-storage? No. And even if you increase $60, would you move out? 65. So that's the thing. You can easily increase. Nobody gonna consider until it's really reasonable increase.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay, so with the pros and cons that we covered, the con that I hear, which is something like the reason that we invest or we look at C-class apartments is because there's no more supply. No one's able to build that vintage anymore. But there's demand because people need basically like a decent place, not a great place, just to hang their hat, you know? Now, when it comes to self-storage, is there any place in any city or zone or school area or something to where you may be buying something that's already pre-existing, like a self-storage, or maybe you got zoning, you could possibly get zoning change for something. But would there be any 2 to 3 mile radius type area where there would be the inability to build another self-storage in that same, say, 3 mile radius? Is there any situation where you could look for that ideal, no more supply?
Yes, exactly. So you're hitting it right. If you can find a self-storage where there is no more city can allow to build in the area, you just save yourself for future. Because otherwise, if there's more zoning allowed to build, then some big guy, if you're like more suburban area like Public Storage or CubeSmart, can come and he can really not destroy, but a little bit shake up your business, because their marketing strategies are something else. You don't know what they're doing. They have dynamic prices like in a flight. It's crazy. But yes, so if you can find that this is like you saving your life with the business, if there's no possibility for other. So that's a good point. People, very savvy investors, that's what they do. And you have to make sure, that's where you have to go to that location and most likely go to the city building and find out. They don't give you this information over the phone.
Oh, really?
They can, but they're not sometimes very friendly. Yeah. That's why it's a lot of research. It's a lot of that little research that you want to. And there is a tool that you can kind of have a feel of what's going on. There's a tool that's called a Radius Plus, which is everything I've been telling you. You can get all that information from there. But they're not exactly 100% accurate, especially in the smaller markets.
Yeah.
They will be more accurate in the bigger markets, but in the small markets, they can't tell you exactly all the self-storages. But they can help you to see also in the pipeline.
Yeah.
If there's more self-storages coming up, they can give you a feel, but I would not say you should 100% rely on that only.
Interesting. So that kind of sounds like, and I don't know if you can have access to this or not, but we use CoStar a lot when it comes to looking at commercial. Can you find self-storage in CoStar?
I don't. That's a good question.
I know you can find
I never
high-rises.
ever heard.
We can find triple net leases. We can find high rises. We can find retail. We can find multifamily. But I don't know about self-storage. I've never looked for it in there.
Take a look.
Yeah.
Take a look.
I don't think so.
Yeah. I don't think so. No, I don't think so. I even looked at before and even MLS. No.
Yeah.
But even for example, LoopNet, you can't even, there's no category self-storage.
Right.
But you can go on Google and put LoopNet self-storage, and it will give you a bunch of self-storages. It's just they don't give you the option actually. So most people don't know even how to look, but you can just Google it and then you can find it that way.
Interesting. So CoStar owns LoopNet. So they have the same database. So I bet you there's probably a way to search it, but I would just have to ask a friend, how to pull that data,
Totally,
Oh my gosh.
Totally.
All right.
Yes.
So Masha, thank you so much for joining us today. We have another about 4 minutes or so. So Normally what I get to do on an interview is actually get to ask you about you as a person, not just your business. This was just an awesome opportunity to, like, I don't know anything about self-storage, and I kind of wanted to do an interview where if someone was listening to this, they would probably be coming from the same place. I don't know anything. What do I like or don't like about this? What's pros, cons? So for the next, like, a couple of minutes, I've got 2 quick questions, and you can answer them however you want to. What would you say has been your biggest win? And let's ask this one first. What has been your biggest lesson, and what has been your biggest win?
In life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, biggest win. I mean, honestly, first thing come up is actually become a U.S. resident. Definitely. I'm coming from Russia. I wasn't happy there. I can say the culture is not really my type. America, obviously, is a land of opportunities, how they always say. But I love the people. I love the way the things are done. People smile. In Russia, people don't smile as much. So for me, I dreamed about it since I was very young. Since I was watching a Disney, let's say, I don't know how old I was.
Yeah.
I saw that castle, and I wanted to go to United States. So I did everything to be able to. It was a tough road. I just came to learn language, and I went, but I became a U.S. resident. So that's obviously the hugest win for sure.
Wow, that's huge. Yeah.
Yes.
How many years did that take?
Sorry?
How many years did that take?
I got my residency maybe 2 years ago, so it took me, and I got first to United States to come to college. It was 8, so about 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and I brought my mother. I brought my mother 5 years ago.
How does she like it?
Of course. She does her most favorite job. She does dog care.
Okay.
So she takes care of dogs. She does walk dogs, and she takes dogs home. So there's nothing else in the world she needs more than dogs. So I'm so happy. She would not be able to do that job. There's no such opportunity like that to do in Russia.
Well, I'm really proud of you guys for being entrepreneurs, and I want to bring more women entrepreneurs into multifamily, but in general, just that's why we're discussing cash flow, and I wanted to hear it from an educated female, your perspective, because I'm really proud of, where you've come from and where you are now. And then I guess along with your biggest win, what would be your biggest lesson?
So the biggest lesson is, and I just made a post on LinkedIn, is being all over the place and trying to do a lot of things at the same time and trying to be the best in many things. I did that in the event industry. That's where I started. I worked at weddings, concerts, bar mitzvahs, whatever. And I did decorations. I did artist management, promotions, everything all over the place. And I thought I'm so cool, but it didn't get me to become an expert in something. And then in the residential, I did sales, rentals, of course. And then I did some flipping. I did some wholesaling, and I did manage some Airbnbs. So with me, I decided to do commercial real estate. I'm like, that's it. Self-storage only. Nothing. And I sometimes mobile home parks. Multifamily. And I'm calming myself down, because if you're a lower place, and that's the book that taught me the one thing, I need to be focused. And sorry, there's the dogs. So this is the biggest lesson is not being focused and laser focused on your goal, on one thing. That's yes.
And that's exactly how I found you. You know what I mean? Through other means, but meaning I wanted to globally ask LinkedIn or globally ask people, who do I ask to be on this interview that knows self-storage? And I, like I said, heard it 3 or 4 times. And I was like, okay, I'll just ask if that's okay. Yeah. So you're the expert at self-storage. So I was glad to really be able to get some time with you. Masha, before we end our session, if someone wanted to invest with you, if somebody wanted to partner with you on a deal and maybe fund a deal or get a hold of you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Definitely, I would say LinkedIn is the best way to find me. LinkedIn. I'm not so active on Facebook. I believe LinkedIn is more professional network. where we can actually meet a lot of like-minded individuals.
Yep.
And I'm always looking for partners. I think together we can grow so much bigger, so much higher, and achieve bigger results when just trying to do things yourself. So LinkedIn is Masha, Masha, Klapanova, Klapanova.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being on with us today. And for anyone that's wanting some more information, you know how to get a hold of Masha.
Of course, in that manner.